All right, everyone. Welcome to the weekly Q&A for Hypnosellers. I'm really glad to be starting off this first session ever for the community, but each week we'll do this each week. That's why we call it weekly. First thing I wanted to acknowledge before we start is how many of you that have joined the group since we launched last week. So you can see everyone here on the screen. And we're really happy you all have joined. And also, you'll notice this peculiar person over here, Larry Garner. This is actually my dad. So even my dad joined this. So this is not just for SaaS sellers or hypno sellers. It could be for family members too, if you would like them to learn some of these things that we're going to learn in here and share and grow together as a community. So I want to welcome everyone to the community. And each week, I'll highlight the new members that have joined, and we'll just have the excitement of watching this grow over time. So I'm excited for that. One thing I did want to mention that occurred this week before I go into Q&A with you all is the fact that I saw a posting on LinkedIn, and this is what it was, and it was by this guy named Nico Han, works at a company called Deal with two E's, and he said in his post, as you can see here, he's basically talking about how people tell him he's too direct when he speaks to other people. Like he's just too direct, he's to the point. And, he's says he's from Germany for 8 years. He moved away from Germany. When he came back, he started to get this feedback that he's too blunt. He's too forward, too direct with people. And I caught this because as you know, I teach in hypno sales. Being direct or indirect is kind of one of the key skills, is to learn how to be direct or indirect whenever the situation kind of calls for it. And so I saw this, and then also I saw this other person that commented and says, this hit home for me. I've been told I'm too direct for as long as I can remember. And it's like she kind of agrees with him, but also mentions that become comfortable with the fact that I can be direct, and it's the other person's problem. If the other person can't handle it, then they need to know that I care about them. That's why I'm being direct with them. So my directness isn't the opposite of kindness, she says here at the bottom. So she likes to frame it as, if she can pair it with empathy and respect, then it's the most respectful way to communicate. Now, I will say one thing here from my own perspective. I think that's probably true if I'm working with my peers or with people that report to me. I want to be direct with them in some cases because I need to be. I've appreciate when people have been direct with me about my own performance when I'm at a job, like my boss being direct with me. But when I'm with customers, I may or may not want to be direct all the time. I may not want that to be my default. I actually may want to balance between direct and indirect communication. So I went ahead and posted a response saying yes and no. Nothing wrong with being direct, nothing you have to fix, because I guess they got the assumption or made the assumption that they have to fix that when they're given that feedback. The reality is you don't have to fix it. You just need to realize that 25 to 40% of the population in general prefer indirect communication, which means that certain situations, you're going to have the opportunity to adjust how you communicate with them, help them feel comfortable, help them to like you and trust you. That's what it's about. It's not about fixing what you're doing. It's about adjusting how you're approaching it. So I wanted to share a quick little part of my lesson I've taught in some of my other training, but I'm just going to remind you all, if you haven't watched it, then this might be new. But in general, this is how you want to detect if someone is a direct or indirect listener. You can adjust how you communicate with them instead of being direct, like these folks are saying on LinkedIn. So I get asked this a lot, like how do you tell if someone's an indirect listener versus a direct listener? Well, it's not too difficult. You just have to use this phrase. You have to ask this question and then listen to how they answer it. When you listen to how they answer and you pay specific attention to which part of the question they answer is really what it is, you can pretty much assume that for the most part they probably prefer direct or indirect communication as a default, based on how they answer this question as a default. Okay, so the question, one version of it could be, do you mind if I ask you where you worked before? So imagine you're in a setting, you're in a corporate setting, and you're like, hey, do you mind if I ask you where you worked before this one, before you worked here? Just like that. And what happens is they're going to say no. Half the time they're going to say no, and then they're going to pause and they're going to be waiting for you to ask them, where did you work before? Because if you think about it, they're a direct listener, and they answered the first part of the question. They answered the "Do you mind if I ask you" part. Okay. So you say, "Do you mind if I ask you?" And then they really didn't hear the rest of the part. The rest of it came after the direct part of the question, which is, "Do you mind if I ask you?" And they said no, like, "No, I don't mind if you ask me." Then they're waiting for you to say, "Okay, well, where did you work before?" And then they'll tell you where they worked before. Now, the other people that are more indirect listeners as a preference, like they prefer to listen indirectly to what you're saying and kind of read in between the lines of what you're actually asking, they're going to answer the second part of the question, and just going to tell you where they worked before. They're going to say, "Yeah, I worked at Cisco, or I worked at Splunk, or whatever." And that's because they're answering the second nested question, the indirect question within the actual question itself. Okay. That's how you know. It's just very simple. So let me do another one so you can get an idea. Same principle, a question within a question. Figure out if they're answering the direct question at the beginning or the indirect one that follows. So I might say, "Can I ask you what your middle name is?" Simple question. They're not suspecting anything, but you can get a lot out of listening to how they answer this question. "Can I ask you what your middle name is?" If they say yes, sure. Again, they're a direct listener. They're answering the "Can I ask you?" And they're saying, "Yes, sure, you can ask me." And then they're going to pause and wait for you to go, "What's your middle name?" And then they'll tell you it's Eric or whatever. Like that's what I would say. My middle name is Eric. If they tell you what their middle name is outright, they just say, "My name is Eric," or Anna, or whatever it is. They're answering the second question, which is the indirect nested question. What is your middle name? So you can form questions just like this all different ways. These are just two examples, but I wanted to share this so you could really understand how to detect. And it's very key if you do it in the beginning before you start talking to someone new that you don't know if they are or not. You can figure out if they listen for the direct or the indirect part of that question. And then you also can then assume that they probably most likely prefer to for you to talk to them directly or to talk to them indirectly. Now, I learned all of this being studying to be a master hypnotist because you have to know how to talk to someone uh, that's wanting to be hypnotized. If they're paying you to clinically hypnotize them, you have to know if they prefer direct commands or indirect commands. Otherwise, it won't work with them. And that's why some people say, "Well, hypnosis doesn't work for me." Yeah, that's because the hypnotist is not talking to them directly or indirectly the way they prefer. Okay, so just keep that in mind. The other thing I wanted to point out is that on Hypnoseller School in the community here, I have added a new watch now for new members. So if you're a new member to the group, you can watch. You can start here and watch this video here. That's like an orientation, and also I have a start here, which takes you to a classroom. I have a new start here screen, and this will take you through the steps and tell you everything about about the community and how to post and what the classes are and courses are and things like that. Also, notice I have 100%. That's because I've marked each one of these as done. So you got to remember to mark them as if you don't do it, it'll say incomplete. You mark it as complete, and then you'll be able to see very easily that you finished everything in that course, and you can move on to the next one. And also, this week I decided, and I got some support from the community to go ahead and do this. I'm going to break this masterclass up into several different courses that are a lot smaller and more concise. And then I may even update some of the content within each course to be more concise, because I will agree with some of the outreach I've had from the community. Your attention span is short, so I should make these a little shorter and more concise and a little more consumable modules, consumable sets of training to make it a little bit easier. So I'm going to be working on that, and I'll update each week on this call. I'll update you on my progress for that, and of course, you'll be able to go in and see the progress as you see me break these out into separate courses. Again, all free, but just more consumable. And again, you're going to want to mark this as done as you watch these different pieces. The last thing I wanted to share also this week is something I discovered and took advantage of. So I want you to do it too. You have this button up here to switch community. So you don't have to only stay in this community. And if you join this community and you're already in other communities, you know about this. But if you join this as your first community on Skool, you're not going to necessarily know that you can go discover new communities. You can go here and discover new ones. When you find one, you can join them too. So notice I joined another community here, for example, called Total Sales Innovation. Okay, Total Sales Innovation Academy. And Bob is the one that runs this, and he's been doing this for a long time, like 35 years or something, 30 or 35 years. And I went and I introduced myself there, and I want to learn from him too. So you can also do that. Just because Hypnosellers is potentially the first community you're in, doesn't mean it's the only one. There's plenty of more training out here and people that know a lot about SaaS sales or things that you're interested in. For example, I even have one called a life coach I joined because, well, I coach others on sales and on hypno sales, but I also need a coach too. Like, yeah, I would be hypocritical if I didn't have someone I went to learn from. I found a life coach here, and she has a community that I really like. Some of the things I look, some of the free stuff, and I'm continuing to learn from her. I just wanted to make you all aware that you can do this, and you should do this. You should join some different communities, and not just only this is not just the only one, Hypnosellers. Although I would prefer that you start here each week or each day, and let's work together and help each other. Also, for those that were asking about how to get more points, you don't know what to post. Maybe you don't have a question to post necessarily. I have a daily accountability posting thread here. You could start your own as well. You could do a separate one if you want, or you can just come in here and do this. But the idea is that you would post something where you're making an affirmation or holding yourself accountable to something you need to do every day. Maybe it's a deal you're working on. Maybe it's just something you're trying to improve in your life. For me, it's just I want to show up here and I want people to see in the group that I'm posting every day in here, and that I'm committing to helping you every day. So I put day one and I post it. I put day two. I put the same thing every day, and I just hold myself accountable to show up, do my best, share my insights, learn from others. And then I put a little graphic. I think it's always fun to find a little graphic that's kind of fun about it. And then eventually, like when I get down here, I started changing to the actual number 10, 11, 12, finding different interesting graphics for the number. But you can see I've already gone all the way up to 24, and I think this is from the TV show 24. But I've done this 24 days in a row, and I'm very proud of this, and I want to keep going. I want to see how far I can go, and I encourage you, each of you, to also do that as well. Just post something and put the day, put the number, and just post it every day. Commit to yourself. It's also a very self hypnotic thing too, as well. When you post something publicly and you type it out or paste it and you read it to yourself, it's a hypnotic type of a thing too. It's going to get into your subconscious, and you're going to, by the repetition of doing it, it's become more and more true for you as you hold yourself accountable to whatever it is you want to work on. So I'm going to uh, encourage you to do that. And also, when you post something here, we can like it. And when we like it, you'll get more points and you can level up. So, this is another easy way to have something you post every day to level up very quickly. So, I just wanted to point that out. And then as we go through each week, I may point out some more things that are happening in the group that becomes relevant to everyone here. So, with that, I'm going to stop talking about things I wanted to update you on. All right, let me just check to see if there's any questions in here from y'all. I don't see any questions. Do you don't have any questions this week? Did I answer all your questions? Are you good to go for the week? I hope you are. All right. Well, I won't force you to ask questions. I just want to know I want to make myself available in case you do want to ask questions. I am here for you. We're all here for you, and we're here for each other. So let's just keep doing it. And I will look forward to next week. I'll update you on what happens during the week next time, and then see if there's any more questions then. Until then, you all have a great rest of your day and weekend, and happy selling. We'll see you next time. Bye.